Shaun Stephens Whale, hello.
Hello there.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. Feeling good after the race, and just getting back into it.
So you are the official leader of the 2021 Canadian Spartan Race National Series.
Yeah, a two venue series, so it's a good place to be for sure.
It's a good place to be after one race, one of two. And especially like coming off out of this race, and let's just like talk about the results right away. I think there is a little bit of coverage on it. I know RM was talking about it a little bit, but there was some controversy in the final results of this, and Obstacle Fitness X. Obstacle Fitness, is that what? Yeah, OFX, the podcast. They had some people out there doing some coverage. I was able to catch quite a bit of it. They did a great job of like posting stories and how it was going. And it seemed like Mick Girella was all by himself for a lot of it, at least toward the end. And then it seemed like you and Aaron were kind of battling it out. So I was like, all right, well, Mick's really tough on that course in particular. Yeah, I think he's won it like what, 4 or 5 times or something.
Yeah, it's a course made for him. He's
totally
good. Yeah.
Totally. But then afterwards, I heard he was disqualified. And then you were then the winner of the race. So what happened?
Yeah. So I guess like just explaining the disqualification straight up. The rolling mud, which for those who don't know, it's you go over this pit of dirt. Pretty much they've dug out like 3 piles, and the holes. And then you got like the mounds you got to go over and into the holes full of mud. There's 3 of them. On the 3rd one, rather than jumping into the mud pit, Mick skirted around it, so stepped on the side. And that, I guess, was sufficient grounds for him to be disqualified.
Looking at this was like the 4th obstacle. This was like right away.
It was like right away. The race itself, I did like how the course was set up, where you kind of had these longer run sections into obstacle dense areas. But this was the first kind of obstacle dense area, and rolling mud was one of the first obstacles that you went on to.
So how was the race playing out at that point? I mean, that's pretty soon to be in the race. And like I said, the coverage that I saw, that started like, that was like multi-rig rope climb. And that was like probably the last 10th of the race or something is all totally. I saw really. Yeah. So did you and Aaron go out with Mick? Were you guys all together at this point?
No. So I traveled to the race with my buddy, Chris Swanson.
Right.
We had booked tickets a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, he broke his hand. But he was already committed to the race, so decided to still come to it. And so his strategy was, I'm going to run really hard off the gun. And it's like, you're not going to be able to do the obstacles very well, so you might as well see what you can do.
And he's a really good runner.
He's an incredible runner for sure.
Right.
So he took it out really hard, and the only one that went with him was Mick. And I was sitting back, and probably I prefer starting races a bit easier working into it. So I was probably in like 7th or 8th place. Heading into the first gauntlet, Mick had probably already put about 30 seconds on to me, maybe even more by the time we got to rolling mud, which was like a mile into the course. So
basically, your buddy just came out there to pace Mick.
Yeah,
just get him away from the field. What So you didn't see how Mick?
I had no idea. I think Mick was already done rolling mud by the time I even entered it. So I didn't have any visuals on what was going on up there.
Did he step outside of the line or just not go in the mud? Was there white lines lining it?
So what I heard was the day before the race, there was flagging right on the edge of the mud pit. So you would literally have to go into the mud pit, or else you'd be going outside the flagging. For whatever reason, they decided to move the flagging further out. And so, I feel like as a savvy racer, it seems to make sense that you're going to try and follow the quickest line. And the quickest line, Mick only skipped the 3rd mud pit, by the way. But the flagging was still outside of where Mick was. So Mick never went outside the flagging or the lines.
He was inside of the white line, and they disqualified him for not going in the mud?
I believe that's the situation, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So it was very frustrating after the race, because obviously we were all stoked. We all had clean runs, And I feel like that's the best way to end a race, where it's like there's no like controversy, like, oh, I missed the spear and I was in front of you, but things changed.
If it wasn't for this or that.
Exactly. Yeah. It seemed pretty cut and dry, the results. And I think we're all pretty happy with that. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing how it turned out, but yeah, I mean, we can speculate here and make rules on, like, I've already talked to lots of people about like maybe what should have happened instead, but I think maybe some sort of time penalty might have been appropriate. But at least for Mick, it's not just this race either. You have to consider that he was leading the series, and there's a fair amount of prize money in this series. So like it's bigger than just the race. The hit for him for sure.
Yeah, the money's in Canada this season.
I know.
Yeah, it's the real deal. So so you got like a nice little pay raise from that, but that is a little ridiculous. I don't like when they just kind of, that's what they've been doing. Like when Woods like grabbed the trust in Jacksonville a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, you have a 10-minute time penalty, where it's like it really didn't fit, even though like you probably can't do what he did, but they didn't have a rule in place for it.
Yeah.
But that just seems like someone saw it and just didn't agree with how Mick went about racing this. And it was like, no, you obviously knew you should have gotten the mud, but it was still within the confines of the course.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
tough. So it was tough. Like the head Canadian official thought it was okay, but then the head US official who was up here was kind of vetoing it and thought that Mick deserved the DQ. So
crazy.
I don't know.
And that's just something with these races. Like you never know. It looks like they just want to like penalize people and just make it convoluted and it just like it's harmful. It doesn't help when it's like that. So we don't really know what we're going into. We don't know exactly what people have in mind for this, because it's not like delivered to us. And maybe it's just that the sport is just so new that they're ironing these things out. But yeah. Well, aside from that, how did you feel during the race itself? So it sounded like Mick and your buddy Chris went out hard and you wanted to settle back in. And for the most part, most people might know you as more of a climber, but you can run pretty well on flats. And this course is a flat course. Like you're a pretty well-rounded runner. So when you came into something like this, were you thinking that you were going to kind of need to push earlier in the race than you might want to, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, on reflection, I do wish I went out a bit harder. I think I've had some bad experiences going out very hard in the past, and that has left me a bit of a sour taste in my mouth when I do think of going out hard. So I prefer kind of the slow and steady approach. I feel like my running form is pretty good right now. I did Canadian Mountain Running Nationals the week prior to this race, and so I had been training not exclusively, but definitely primarily on uphill and downhill. And so I threw a couple speed workouts in just to try and get the legs primed for this race. But I definitely wasn't, I would say, in like peak flat form. I think if it had been a mountain race, probably would have worked a bit better for me. But yeah, I felt pretty good about it. I think the obstacles themselves weren't bad, but I think if you had to put like where my strength was, it was probably still in the running over the obstacles. I was in after, so taking you through the race, the first like mile there's no obstacles. It's just like a straight run. Really cool, kind of spreads you out a bit. Bit of a road section to start, downhill road.
Nice.
Kind of a single track that winds up back to the venue area. And then sort of that small gauntlet, which we were just talking about. And then there's another 3.5K segment, no obstacles, just like straight run. And so I went into that section, I think in 5th. And then then I came out in 2nd, just in front of Aaron. And by then I think Mick and I were probably very close on the running, but I just lost ground at the start and on the obstacles.
So going into it, was it Mick, Chris, Aaron, and Austin in front of you?
And then Chris had to burpee out the monkey bars. So
did he finish, or did he just end up being like, this is
he
crazy?
actually finished in 12th place. So he almost made a bit of money, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
That it's like I'm gonna go. One time Kempson, must have been 2018, I think. He smashed his finger on Atlas carry, just like in the middle of some race. Oh, you were at that race. It was that
was a US Mountain Series race
in Minnesota, right? Yeah,
in Minnesota. Yeah,
I remember that race was like pretty stacked, because it was just like the first time that there was like this
crazy. Yeah, that was
right.
very stacked.
It was a sprint in Minnesota, and it was like 10 guys deep. And like I remember someone like pointing back, like, there's this Canadian guy. He's like, he's like runs great in like these building races, and we're like, what? What? Who? yeah. So Kempson smashed his finger, and then the next week did Dallas, the stadium race, and was like going through and just like chicken winging, like putting his hand through the rings, and still finished, but didn't do it as well as he would have. But
obviously, yeah.
But with like, if your whole hand is hurt, I don't know, like, what are you gonna do?
No, and like Chris went to the doctor the week before too, and they pretty much told him, like, you can't use any of your fingers, even though it was only his pinky that was smashed. They're like, if you use any of your fingers, you might compromise the whole hand. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, but what was really nice about this course, and I've seen it incorporated more now, is there's more penalty loops. And so on a couple of the key obstacles like Twister, Z-Wall, a couple more had penalty loop options, which for Chris worked very well. And they also allow you as like one of the elite athletes to maybe take a couple more risks on some of these obstacles, realizing that the penalty loop isn't going to take as much out of you as doing 30 burpees.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of fun. On the following day, on the Sunday, Aaron and I both did the beast, and I practiced just lacheying Twister. So just like skipping Twister itself, and I was able to get the second section of it and just go straight for the bell. And
you skipped the whole. You were able to lachey over the whole, like, auger of.
Yeah, well, just the second one. I did the first section of Twister.
Right.
I think I'd like to try lacheying from the first to the second too, but I just skipped the second one and went straight for the bell, and it was like, honestly, saved about 5 seconds, and I'm like, in a race, if it's dry, I might actually do that now that I've tried it. So
would it be like, I don't have any experience with doing that type of work, and I know you've been practicing ninja stuff more and more, to do like a lachey into a second lachey, like how much power is needed to do, like, is it possible to do back-to-back lacheys like that, or will it end up taking more out of you than what it would?
If you could link the lacheys, it would save you literally like 15 seconds, and you look like a total badass.
But that's like parkour, like high level.
Yeah. So there's a couple asterisks next to this. First of all, like, it's gonna have to be like bone dry. I like taking gambles like that when it's at all wet is that's one of the reasons I didn't even bother trying it on the Sunday, because when you're trying to do like a 10-foot lachey and just grab a bar, you want that part to be pretty secure, right? And if it's wet and you're falling off, like,
you will get hurt.
Whip on your back, you could break your neck. I mean, there's issues. So, I think the issue with something like linking the lacheys on Twister is with the scaffolding in the center. There's 2 bars, and so if you grab the first bar, you might be able to do it, but it's like you might hit your head. Is what I'm thinking. Because it's not a single bar you're grabbing in the center, because there's the scaffolding has the 2, like it's I see. It's like a rectangle, right? So
I see. So even if you were on the front bar of the 2 bars, like the lachey, you'll probably hit your head.
You might. I actually tried using the support bars, so the thinner bars below it that connect the 2 sides of it that are diagonal, and I found that worked pretty well. So that might be a possibility if you could somehow grab those and link them together. I'm not sure, but it's possible, I think.
I saw Alex Walker one time do a lachey from like the middle of Twister. Like, she just got like close enough, and then just like 2 pumps and like went for it.
Yeah. I don't think that'd be much quicker than probably doing it.
Maybe if you're just like out of gas or something, like, I don't know.
But I mean, it takes a lot of like finger and like strength to do a lache too, because you're putting a lot of like torque on the body when you're kicking forward and back. So I don't even know if that would be easier or not.
It would just be cooler.
It would be cooler. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, there was no one with a video there to see mine, but yeah, it was fun.
So I'm not sure how we got here. So you got out of the woods and then you were in second place. Did Aaron just latch on to you? Because you guys finished. That's about as close as a finish that happens in an obstacle course race.
Yeah. I was still kind of trying to chase down Mick at that point.
Could you see him? Could you feel him at all?
I could see him, but he was a good like 45 seconds ahead. Like there was some good long stretches where I could definitely see him straight ahead of me, but it wasn't like within grasping distance. It was just a bit too far. So I wasn't able to make that connection as much as I would have liked. So yeah, I was kind of pulling away from Aaron a bit, but then the next set of obstacle gauntlets, I think Aaron was just a bit more efficient than me. There was a Z-wall and my foot slipped off the Z-wall, almost fell off. Fortunately, I was able to hang on, but that cost me about 10 to 20 seconds. And I probably had Aaron by about 15, 20 seconds going in, and we came out at the exact same time.
Oh, wow.
So after that, we pretty much just ran most of the remaining race together.
I've had a very similar experience against Aaron, where he was coming back into shape in Jacksonville a couple of years back. Same race that we talked about earlier with Woods cheating. So but Aaron just wasn't fast at the time, but he was able to put so much ground on me on things like Olympus and Twister. He's really solid on obstacles.
He totally is.
Yeah, and then he just can kind of gut it out.
Yeah, and he's a pretty good carry guy too. And so, I was kind of just, honestly, I was happy to go behind him because it kind of gave me a better understanding of how he goes through the obstacles so efficiently. Because I personally don't get much practice on the Spartan obstacles, so any opportunity I get to practice my efficiency is going to help me in the next race. So I'm totally game for that.
He's pretty aggressive, right?
He just goes into it. I think one of the things that I noticed at this race particular is when I come up to an obstacle, I'll maybe shake out, or I won't like jump in so aggressively. Like I'll come up to like the monkey bars or something, stand on the platform, and then like, one hand up, other hand up, and start going. Where like Aaron or probably like people like Atkins will just like run up, not even stop, and just jump into it and go straight. And that's just a couple seconds right there. But you take it over 10, 20 obstacles, that's almost a minute. So
yeah. So when I think about like running and jumping into an obstacle, one, it's like I don't have enough proof that I can do that consistently, and to be confident enough to do that in a race, like running and jumping off of the platform, and like I would have to be like 98% sure that that it's going to work. Where if I did that, I'd be like, I don't know, 60% confident, just because I never really had done it.
Yeah.
So is that something that you think the same way? It's just like not enough practice, or just not confident in, say, you're just grip strength?
Yeah. Well, on this particular course, it was wet. And so there was definitely a bit of apprehension behind that. But I'm also a guy that I'd say I'm a bit more risk averse when it comes to racing. And so similar to you, I like my confidence factor to be very high when I'm doing an obstacle. I don't like to be on the edge, but like I imagine some guys just are more comfortable being on the edge, and that's just part of their racing, is like to like be right on, falling off but not falling off, and just being able to get through it. And maybe our 60% confidence, since we don't do the obstacles enough, maybe we're actually like 95, but
sure,
for whatever reason we're just doubting ourselves. And I think that's one thing where it's like I'd love to just practice the obstacles more, and I really wish Spartan allowed us to do that on like the day before the race, and maybe during the other heats if we're not interfering, because I think just being more comfortable on like what my confidence level is would really help on obstacles.
Yeah, I think they would let you. I don't know if they would let you, but like it's volunteers who are sitting at the obstacles, right? I've done that before. I was like, can I just like practice this a bunch and just see how it goes? And they're like, as long as there's no, like, and the open wave comes, and like 30 people come and then they're gone for a long time. So there's like time and space to go and do it. It's just a matter of like
Totally.
doing it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's one thing that I think about with this a lot is how much experience does matter. And we'll keep using Aaron as the example here. Like in 2019, he raced every weekend and he would do every race. So then like the stakes were very low for him for pretty much every race because it's like, okay, what does this sprint on a Sunday in Indiana matter for like long term? He's not worried about like winning or losing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like going for it and just trying things out. Where a race like, and maybe he had the same type of idea for this series. Like if he does well, which he did, then he can show up in Blue Mountain and potentially make some more money. And he's right in the running for winning the series. So, but he's just done it so often that he's confident enough now to because he's raced so much. Where like you or I, we don't race that much. You know, and a race like this one had some pretty high stakes for you. Totally. So like today, that wouldn't be the day to go and do it.
No, exactly. I like I was saying before, I think the penalty lap option, or even doing it like Battle Frog, where like mandatory completion would again be something that would encourage athletes to take a few more risks, which I think would make it more entertaining because you'd see athletes doing cooler things on the obstacles, like lashing or something like that. As opposed to like forcing us to do 90 seconds of really intense work and then coming out tired. Yeah.
And changing the race completely.
Yeah.
The mandatory completion, it's definitely something that people want. And the Spartan or Savage has always been that way. And they've upped their obstacles so much that now it's almost to the point where like the running doesn't even matter because it's like, whoever the 3 people are that finish an obstacle, they're the ones that win. So like,
that's awesome.
but like, is it? It's like nothing really matters. Besides
are they that hard then? Like I would love to do a Savage race, but I've obviously not seen the rigs themselves. So
they have one rig that changes, like they make it more like progressively more difficult each time it seems. And I've actually never done a Savage either, but when I see this thing and like, yeah, there was like a built-in lache a couple of times where you had to. Yeah. Like, and it took like, I think there were 10K and like the woman who ended up third on the podium was like close to 2 hours because it's just people sitting there trying to do this obstacle over and over.
Yeah.
So like, should it be mandatory completion on easier obstacles and potentially have a penalty on like a harder one? Like
maybe like a 10-minute penalty. Like a very significant penalty, like very much discouraged, even if you don't do it your first time. But I have no idea. Like,
yeah, because that's what that Hildervat did. They were like 10-minute penalties if you miss.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know, but that's the thing is like, should it be mandatory completion on obstacles where everybody can kind of complete it? So like, and like Spartan should be that way because everyone can kind of do them, or should you be penalized for not being able to do easy obstacles? I don't know. Yeah. So what would you feel like you did best in this race?
Ooh. It's probably an answer I should have known before starting this. What did I do best? I think I paced myself pretty well. Not necessarily I think I'm happy with how I ran the race, especially with how the finish went, how I was able to get second over Aaron. There's a set of stairs, probably about 1K from the finish line. It's like 159 stairs.
Oh wow!
And I was like, yes, into it. So I was able to gap Aaron a bit on the set of stairs, and that was kind of my strategy going in. I was sitting behind Aaron, going to the bucket, which was just before the stairs, and then trying to kind of just shake things out before the stairs. I'm like, okay, this is for me like another obstacle. I'm gonna take it hard and see if I can gap Aaron a bit. And
is there a certain technique that you use in your climbing and like your tower running experience that you can just tap right back into, or is it just a strength and capacity thing and like confidence thing that allows you just to be like, all right, here's some steps. I'm gonna hammer this?
I think it's more of the latter, especially with this set of stairs. You didn't have any handrails or turns. It was just like, it was an outdoor set of stairs. So like my stair climbing experience as far as technique went, didn't really come into play much. It was just being able to access my power. And so I was able to probably put like a good, at least 10 seconds on Aaron, and then just kind of held him off through the woods and made the spear. And so the last 3 obstacles were, it was pretty much like back to back. It was like 50 meters from the finish line. You had the spear, then you had helix, and then the slip wall. And helix has never been, I just haven't dialed that one in. Like, I just feel like I'm slow through it. Like the bars that you have to like squeeze your fingers through, I'm always like a bit nervous about that. And so I wanted to have a bit of a gap on Aaron going into that. And I had just enough of a gap coming out where I was up the slip wall and Aaron was coming out of helix, and then I get to the top of the slip wall and I'm kind of taking probably a bit more time than I needed to. And then Aaron's like running up the slip wall as I'm coming over, like, oh crap. So I had to run down because he was making a go for it for sure.
It's so wild seeing those finishes because like you can't really like kick, it just like watching you two guys finish. It was just like you had to make sure you didn't die coming down off of slip wall, and then it was just
sketchy.
over.
It's sketchy. Yeah. Like I don't know, like if you offered me $1 million if I would run down the slip wall, because you miss a footstep and you're like, I don't know, that could end badly. So
the dude Josiah Middow, he did that at one of the earlier races where like his legs like split on either side, like tumbled forward.
Oh, man. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that would not be fun. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I don't want
that's why I wish they did have, like, it would have been sweet if you did that and then it was like 200 meters into the finish.
Totally. That's what I prefer to. Like give someone a chance to kick. It's almost dangerous to do it that way.
You would have held them off though, right? You would have had that kick.
Oh, easy.
No doubt. So what do you think you could have done better?
I think like I was saying before, coming into the obstacles a bit more aggressively rather than shaking out, taking my time. I think that's something that in the future I want to work on more. So I'm not exactly sure I'm going to incorporate that into my training, but I'll see. Maybe I'll just be more conscious of it in races too. And I think if it's dry, there's no reason you can't just jump straight into the obstacles.
Mm-hmm. You got to find out, right?
Yeah, I think also maybe starting a bit faster, because I do think once I lost contact with Nick, I just never. It was never a race between us, and I wish it at least was. I'm not saying by any means that like I would have been able to keep up with him, but I think we're running at a similar speed, so at least like it would have given me a better shot and more fun experience between the two of us. But so maybe practicing just some tempo runs where I start at like 3-minute K pace for the first kilometer and then like go into like 3:20 or whatever my tempo pace ends up being.
Yeah.
Just to like get used to starting fast and then getting into a pace, because it's not one of my strengths, I'd say. So getting in over your head a little bit, because there are races like that. It's so strange with this. The bigger races are more like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't start off fast, like you're gonna get stuck behind a lot of people. So I think it's a really important skill to have, is being able to start fast and then settle into your pace.
Yeah, because once you lose that visual contact, it's hard to stay engaged, right? Even if in a big race where you're not losing time on any specific segment or anything, you're just behind. You just didn't start as fast. Yeah. So what do you got next? You mentioned you have a bigger race, a longer race coming up next weekend.
So it's been a weird fall for me, and I'm really excited to be racing again. Like I said, I had Canadian Mountain Running Champs the week.
How did that go? I missed that.
It was good. I finished second, and so I made the team for Thailand, which is going to happen in February.
Nice.
And so that'll be something else to train for.
Who won that?
One of my teammates, Alexander Ricard. He's just, honestly, I think he could be one of the best climbers in the world if he already is very, very good, but like he could like win those big VK races over in Europe if like he's really good. I've never experienced running with someone who could run away from me like that on hills. So he's pretty exceptional. So yeah, it was. I feel like I'm pretty fit right now. I had some good base mileage over the summer, some 100+ mile weeks, and yeah. So coming up, I got WAM, which is a 60K race in Whistler. It's part of the North American Golden Trail Series, and that's going to be
nice.
in like 12 days from now. So I'm gonna try and do a bit of last minute training for that one, and then after that, I have to make a decision. I have Squamish 50, which is a 50-mile race the week before Blue Mountain in Ontario. I don't know. I haven't decided on anything yet. I might do that one. It's like a local. It's like the biggest local race. It's one of the biggest like trail races in Canada, and it's something I've really wanted to win. So I'd like to do that, but I just gotta be smart because obviously Blue Mountain, there's quite a bit of money up for grabs there.
Yeah, how much would you win at the Squamish race?
If I broke the course record, it would be 3,000.
If you broke the course, and
yeah,
so good. But that's break. What about just a win?
2,000.
And if you win Blue Mountain, it's also 3,000
plus 4,500. So.
Plus yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
that's pretty good payoff for a trail race. The Squamish race.
It's a very good, and Gary Robbins, who puts it on, is like amazing with that, and that's why it is one of the biggest trail races in Canada, and it attracts a lot of top talent. But
yeah. It's not saying you can't do both, but like it'd be harder to do both.
I agree. Yeah. Trying to recover a week. Yeah.
A 50-mile. Then what's the Blue Mountain's distance? What is that? Is that a beast?
It's a beast.
It is.
So the training at least would be comparable. We're talking like a 7.5-hour race for Squamish and probably like 2.5 hours. So at least like the training wouldn't be completely different.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't made any decisions yet, but that's one potential way I could go about the season.
And what weekend's Blue Mountain?
October 23rd, I think the race is around then.
Okay.
So it's 6 weeks, just under 6 weeks.
And then just thinking, is Aaron going to come to it?
Yeah, he's going to come to it, but apparently he's doing a 24-hour ultra 2 weeks before.
Okay. So I was just thinking, that is he doing Telluride? Is that what that is?
That's what he's doing, yeah.
Okay.
And so I feel like at least we'd be in similar positions going into it.
Feeling equally terrible.
Yeah, and Aaron would be my biggest competition for the series win at least. And so, yeah, I don't know. It might be doable.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if Mick gets that 10-minute penalty, what's he finish, like 5th or something?
Yeah, he's still. Yeah, I think it would be like 5th or 6th. It would be.
That's wild. So he was DQ'd basically for the series. They DQ'd him for the whole series. That's so unfortunate. Okay, huh? And then would that be your? Do you have any other ultra like 24-hour races? Are you thinking World's Toughest?
Maybe World's Toughest. That's in like mid-November. Is that right? I haven't even. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think like it's a possibility. Like I said before, that race is one I'm scared of because I feel like my body is going to just get so crushed and I'm not going to be able to train or run at all for 2 months plus.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'd get very depressed. even if I can get the victory, I don't know if it's worth it for like 2 months of like just sulking. So
just misery and
yeah,
going into the winter where things are sad anyway. That's like the thing. If you're going to do a 24-hour race, like you're putting yourself under so much stress that your body is probably going to shut you down. You're probably going to be pretty bummed out for a while for sure.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Well, cool, man. Well, again, congrats on the victory. Either way, clean race. Did everything as the rules or as whatever we think the rules are. So put yourself in a great position. It's great that you're racing again and representing for the home country, which is great.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, cool, man. We'll make sure to keep everybody posted where you're going to be next, and I'll link to your socials and all that. So cool, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Cool. Thanks, Rich.